Enderpearl Stasis is one of the most interesting mechanics in Minecraft, if you ask me. You can suspend your Enderpearl for as long as you want, and then flip something like a trapdoor to teleport there later. Very cool. However, these don't flip themselves, so there's a couple things you can do. If you're on a multiplayer server and you've got some friends, that'll work, but I generally play in single player. There's some timers you can set up, which can be very useful, or there's some janky stuff you can do with like fishing rods or frostwalker boots, but I just wanted something I could set and forget and only use it to teleport exactly when I wanted to and not have to worry about it. So I came up with this. This is what I'm calling the sleep controlled, and I don't know. Actually, I'm not calling it anything. Temporary name. Anyway, the way it works is, let's say I want to go to this one. I can just, as soon as it becomes night, press and hold right click on the bed. And when I wake up, I'm teleported here. Very nice. However, this works in multiples, and this is where it starts getting interesting. So, if I sleep as soon as possible, I'll get teleported here. But, if I give it a second, and then I go to bed, I can be teleported 1,000 blocks away or so. Very interesting. And in fact, I've got 5 of these set up. So if I sleep when any of these lamps are lit up, I'll be teleported to its corresponding waypoint or whatever. Now obviously there's some downsides here. You can see if I want to go to bed without triggering anything, I gotta wait quite a while, because I can indeed go to bed after this last one without having any issues. Also, in multiplayer, you're gonna have a hard time coordinating everyone to go to bed at the same time to get you to teleport to your various places. So it's not perfect, but in a single player world with maybe like 1 or 2 set up, especially just one since you can trigger it by just sleeping as soon as possible, it'll work out great. See, now we're much further away. And we've come here to talk about how this thing works. So, basically, it has 2 AND gates, basically. First, we check if it's a specific time of night. So, here we've got a daylight sensor, and you can see all its, like the signal strength it's outputting. So right now it's on 7, and you'll see when it reaches 8, this line will turn off. But when it goes back to 9, this line will turn back on. So this line is only off at specifically daylight sensor of 8, which is our calibrated spot. The way this works is we've got these 2 daylight sensors. One we are subtracting 7 from, and one we are subtracting 8 from. And the one we're subtracting 7 from, we're running into a redstone torch. So basically, the way that works is right now we're subtracting 7 and 8, so these both are at 0. Once we get to 8, the comparator's outputting 8, we're subtracting 7, and so it outputs 1 and turns off this torch to turn this line off. This one is subtracting 8, so we're at 8 minus 8 is 0, so this is also off. But once we get to 9, this turns back on. Now, we have our second AND gate. If this line is off, and this line is off, you'll notice that will unpower the trapdoor, which will activate our thing. So, this is off when we're at this time of night. When is this off? This is off when it's the daytime. Now you'll notice this is on when it's the daytime. So you would think that would mean this never triggers. However, we've got some delay in here. So if it is this time at 8, and then it suddenly becomes daytime, this will still be off because of the delay. It'll be off here for a second, and this will turn off immediately as soon as it becomes day, and you'll see this will turn itself off just long enough to trigger the Enderpearl. So we'll demonstrate that real fast. Actually, we're just going to set the time to day like this instead of sleeping. So it's here. Set the time to day. Oh, I typed it wrong. And you can see that turns off and that turns off. And maybe we'll do that again so you can see it without the Enderpearl in it. So you'll see it gets to 8 in just a second here. That one's off. It turns back on, but the other one turns off, and the trapdoor flips down. So that's the way it works. The final design is basically the same thing all crunched up together. I'm kind of a beginner redstoner, so it's not. It might be able to get a little smaller, but I think it's kind of close. I don't want to say that actually. People are pretty clever. But this one uses one daylight sensor for all three. You might be able to make it smaller with multiple, but this way you only have one. You only have to have one hole in your roof basically because they have to be able to see the ceiling. This one I also focused on getting the daylight sensor as high up in the contraption as I could, so that you have less deep of a hole in your roof if you put this in your base. But yeah, that's basically everything here. This repeater, if you dive deep into it, you might be a little confused why this is here. I just had some issues. If there wasn't that extra delay there, you can make it a bit smaller, but it has some issues with like logging out and logging back in. Well, I don't really know. I honestly didn't fully understand it, but this fixed it, so this is what we're going with. The way you calibrate it for a specific time is with these crafters. You can only start sleeping when the daylight sensor has a reading of 4. So the first one is actually set to 4. So here we're subtracting 3 and we're subtracting 4 to have it, but for each further time you just add one little tick in here, and now this will trigger on 2 instead of on 1. If you don't want to use crafters, you can use something like composters or really anything that will give a consistent comparator output. Just make sure you match it to whatever these would be. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, we'll quickly cover this. This is just a red coder hooked up to this with a little bit of subtraction from this to line it up. If you want to know how a red coder looks, you can look it up, or there will be a world download for you to look at yourself. But yeah, that's about it. Hopefully someone can find these useful. It's possible this was already invented and I'm just reinventing the wheel, but I had never seen it before, and a quick cursory look didn't find anything that was quite this, so I just wanted to share it. Yeah, thanks for watching.